The best show ever to take place in Maryland is HBO's The Wire. It is a show about Baltimore and details the gang activity, police indifference, and Democrat corruption. One of the central ideas in The Wire is that the difference between good and evil is not which side of the law you're on. Thus, total depravity is in full display. The main character in The Wire is James McNulty. The development of his character and shifting of his worldview, in my opinion, is one of the most dynamic deconstructions of a protagonist in television. His worldview change is the topic for this video. In the first episode of The Wire, James McNulty is circumventing the chain of command in order to raise stink. He's a Puritan within the Baltimore City Police Department. This is the strength of the main character, that he is determined to do good work without compromise or succumbing to the bureaucratic pressures to get numbers. But this moral highlight comes at a great cost. McNulty was a terrible husband, a largely absent father, and a Jameson-drinking alcoholic. He was so devoted to doing police work, he neglects every other area in his life. At the end of the first season, his willingness to buck authority in order to arrest Avon Barksdale gets him exiled to the Marine unit. In the second season, McNulty is broken without being able to perform a major investigation. He has no other relationships in his life at this point. We see him get back into the major crimes unit, and we see that his life's purpose is fulfilled once more, but nothing else changes. In the third season, we see that McNulty realizes that he has nothing going on in his life outside of police work. We also see McNulty alienate the one lieutenant interested in doing actual police work. At the end, however, McNulty decides to live a quieter life driving a patrol car in the Western District. There, he has a romantic relationship with Beatty. So in the fourth season, the Puritan McNulty is living a happier life, but this doesn't last long. The murder of Bodie calls him back into investigating major crimes. But the investigation hits a dead end when Baltimore's mismanaged school system creates a massive budget shortfall that constrains the police department. This is where McNulty stops being a Puritan and becomes a utilitarian. Instead of fighting to purify the police department, McNulty is willing to do whatever it takes to bring down Marlo Stanfield. So when McNulty learns that Baltimore's medical examiners can be fooled by post-mortem handling, McNulty begins faking murders so that the Baltimore police can get funding. In order to solve the most crime, McNulty believes he has to create a serial killer. Naturally, this gets out of hand, and the fake news Baltimore Sun is willing to lie to elevate this story. McNulty uses the publicity to acquire an illegal wiretap on Marlo Stanfield. But when the wiretap doesn't work, McNulty creates another hoax panic so that this wiretap can tap picture messages. From there, McNulty and his accomplices are able to crack Marlo Stanfield's code and arrest him. But the jig is up. By now, the higher-ups have found out. And now they've done a major drug bust that is dead on arrival in court because of an illegal wiretap. So ultimately, Marlo Stanfield, the kingpin of Baltimore crime, gets to walk on the stet docket, which is the next best thing to getting a case dropped. In the end, McNulty sacrifices everything and gains very little. Marlo Stanfield walks. Marlo's muscle is arrested for a different murder by someone who would not compromise. Two homeless men end up dead from a copycat killer. And McNulty is ultimately forced out of the police department. The only people who benefited were the Martin O'Malley-inspired mayor of Baltimore, who was running for governor, and the fake news journalist who won a Pulitzer. James McNulty's character arc ultimately shows the futility of compromising your character in order to bring about positive change. I find it interesting that an HBO show would have this messaging, but perhaps this was back in the day before HBO was compromised by political correctness. That's all I got to say about that for today. Let me know if you want to keep seeing more of this type of content. Other than that, like, subscribe, the usual, and have a blessed day.